Well, hi there everyone. This is Aaron from the GoDaddy email marketing team, here with a quick demo of all the GEM essentials. GEM is what we call GoDaddy email marketing for short, so I'll be referring to it that way throughout this walkthrough. Now I'm going to move fairly quickly just because there's a lot to cover, but I would invite you to pause and rewind as many times as you need to. And also, we do have a 24/7 email inbox support team available at gem@godaddy.com. So the three things I really want to cover today are A, creating a campaign using our standard drag and drop composer, B, adding contacts to your subscribers tab, and C, sending your email out once everything is set up. So let's get right to it. When you log in to your GEM product, you're going to see this big green Create a Campaign button at the very top. So we'll click that. That's going to bring us straight to the drag and drop composer. This is apart from other email marketing platforms in that it's really intuitive to use, it's really simple, and you can probably make promotions within 5 or 10 minutes once you get the hang of how to do that right now. We're going to be making a promotion announcing the grand opening of a new location for a company called Casey's Cuddly Critters. So let's make a title first. Let's say something like Grand Opening Announcement. Now this is the title that you're going to refer to on your own GEM dashboard. It doesn't have to be the subject line of the final email as it goes out, so you don't have to worry too much about setting up a subject line right now. Just use a title that makes sense to you, that'll help with your internal organization, and then click Save. You're going to want to click the Save button pretty much as often as you can while you build these mailings, just because you don't want to lose your content if your internet connection drops or something like that. So there's a Save button right up here. There's another one down at the bottom in the bottom left. Now the first thing I like to do is upload any imagery that I'm going to use in my promotion. And I will do that now. I'm going to talk about some of these other elements in a bit, but first let's add our images. On the right sidebar you have this Images tab. That's what we would call the image gallery. This is where all your images are stored, and then you can drag them into place from there. Now there are two ways you can add images to the gallery. The first is to click this little icon, which is basically equivalent to a browse icon. This lets you browse your computer, find the image file you want, and upload it that way. So let's grab our banner and click Open, and then we're going to click Upload Image right here. That adds the image to your gallery. You'll see it process for just a second, and now it's ready. Now you can also drag and drop images. So let's expose my desktop. And I have a few more images here. I can just highlight those, bring them in, and drop them into place. And I can do it all at once that way, which is really nice. Now let's talk about the elements that you're seeing over here. This is actually your mailing. This is where you build it. So you have a logo option and a banner option. Now it used to be that we just had the banner. The banner is the widest part of your mailing. As you can see right here, it's 590 pixels wide. The height is totally up to you. But the banner would usually contain any really essential branding to your company. So you would have maybe a logo, the company name, and a slogan, and any imagery associated with your company other than the logo that you want included there. The logo we recently added as an option. That's in the very top corner. It'll be displayed above the banner, but it's going to be smaller. It's really more of a badge or an icon. Now, some people use just one or the other. Some people use both. It really depends on your design. For instance, if you have your logo displayed right here and maybe it's a small box shape or something like that, you're probably not going to display the logo in your banner immediately underneath that. You might tweak the design of your banner so that you don't have any design redundancy. But for now, for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to use a banner. I have one prepared over here. Now you can make a banner yourself, and I would recommend using something like picmonkey.com. That's a free online photo editor. Canva is another service that we're big fans of here. But the bottom line is that you want to make it 590 pixels wide. Again, the height is totally your choice, but just to show you how that looks once it's made, drop it into place. There it is. Now immediately I'm prompted to add a hyperlink to the banner, which I always recommend doing. So I'm going to just use example.com. Now the banner is actually clickable, so when people click on this, they'll be brought to my website, or whatever URL I've specified there. If you want to edit that URL at any time, just click the pencil icon in the top right corner. Of course, you can delete the banner by clicking this trash can, or actually, if you just drag in another banner from the right sidebar, you can swap the image in real time, and that goes for any images that you use in the mailing. So there's our banner. We have that in place. You saw me just drag it over. That's the correct process. And as you can see, since this is 590 pixels wide, since the image file itself already was, it fits perfectly within this placeholder. Now, if you need help with this, again, GEM, G-E-M, at GoDaddy.com is our 24/7 support inbox. We're totally happy to help you get squared away with this and get it set up so that it looks great. So now let's start actually building our content underneath the banner. This is a module-based system. So if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see 7 different buttons here. These are called modules. Each button represents a different module type. So all you're going to do is click on the button representing the module you want to add. Doing that will add that module to your content above, and the module will be blank. So then you'll just click into the module and start filling it in with the content. So from left to right, as we hover over these, we're able to see what type of module each one is. So this is image and text, text and image, text, image, section title, button, and divider. Now I usually start with a section title because it's going to be bigger, bolder text that displays usually kind of like a headline. So you can see that I clicked the section title module. It added the module for me right here. And then I can just start typing into it. Let's say, let's just call it Grand Opening Announcement. Awesome. Now you see some formatting options beneath the module. I'm going to wait to cover those because you'll see more formatting options in some future modules that I'll be demonstrating. For now, what I want to show you are the options available to you above each module that you insert into your promotion. So in the top left is drag. That lets you drag the module around. Modules are always positioned in relation to other modules. So you can see this isn't just free floating. I can't drop it anywhere. Once I add another module, I'll be able to drag it around and position it in relation to the modules around it. The preview button lets me see how the text is going to actually look on the receiving end, and then when I can either click edit or I can click back into the module to keep working on it. Here I see the module type, and if I click that, I can actually change the module type I'm working with on the fly. And then in the top right corner, of course, I can just delete the module. I'm going to go ahead and save again. So what I've done, I'm going to demo out the other module types, but I have put all the text I'm going to use into just a simple text edit document because I don't want you to have to watch me type all this manually. That would take a while. So let's go ahead and insert some other module types. I would like to do, let's say, text and image, followed by image and text. So again, you can see I just clicked those buttons. It immediately added those module types. I can drag them around in relation to each other now, but I'm just going to keep them how I originally inserted them. So let's go ahead and just paste our text into here. I'll grab it from this document. Let's do this in the first module. Awesome. And let's take this blurb into the second module. Perfect. Now you can see that we have some image placeholders next to this text. Let's grab a couple of our images here and drop them in too. Awesome. Now let's talk about formatting options for text. As you can see, these modules have more formatting options than the section title module did, which is why it's a little better to cover them here. GEM uses what's called a markdown editor. We also refer to that as a what you see is what you get editor, meaning that as you choose your formatting for different chunks of text, you're going to see GEM add the necessary coding to the text in order to tell it how you want it displayed. Now, you don't actually have to pay a whole lot of attention to that coding. It's just going to pretty much be done for you on the fly. So let's go over what the options are first. From left to right, we have heading, subheading, a bulleted list, numbered list, just a regular hyperlink, centered text, bold, italics, and then we can ignore this one on the far right because that's part of an add-on that we're not going to be going over as part of this walkthrough. So all we need to do is highlight the chunk of text we want to format and choose the corresponding option from the bottom. So let's say I want to turn "You're invited" into a heading. Let's go ahead and highlight it, click the big H. Now the coding is there, and when we click preview, we can see it in action. So it's really all about toggling between clicking into the module and clicking the preview button above it. Now let's turn this into a subheading. Awesome. Let's go ahead and bold the phrase "brand new Crittertown location." Awesome. And let's come down here too and make this a heading. And maybe link Casey's in Crittertown. Awesome. So even though all this coding is getting dropped in, we don't really need to worry about it because we can click preview and see it in action and test it that way. It's really that simple. So again, you're just highlighting text, you're choosing how you want it formatted, and Gem is going to do the rest for you from a coding standpoint. Now, we're also able to customize our images a little bit. You can see that when I'm in the preview mode for these modules, the text is actually wrapping around my images. That's a great way to be able to resize your images and see how it's going to look. So if we hover over the image, in the bottom corner, our mouse turns into a smaller arrow. We're able to click and drag and expand or collapse the image. And we actually get a nice little pixel counter down here that tells us the dimensions. That's really handy if you want your images to be the same width, for example. So I made the top one 200. I can make this one 200. When I click in, the text will stop wrapping so that I can edit it. But then I'll see more options under the image as well. This little option in the middle is a newer feature we've implemented, allowing you to just display the image at the maximum resolution it can be while still comfortably sitting next to your text. So if we do that, it blows it up for us. We can dial it back down if we want. Do that. Now the pencil icon is great. This lets us actually caption the image and or link it. Now when we save and preview the module, there's our caption in action, and the image is now clickable, and it'll lead to whatever URL we typed in. Awesome, so let's go through the other module types. I'm going to save again real fast. We have a straight up text module. Now this is the exact same as the modules above it, it just doesn't have an image next to it. So same formatting options and everything. And actually, if we want, we can change it on the fly. So if we decide we want an image next to it, we can change it to an image in text module, or we can flip that around, or just go back to regular text. And I'm just going to delete that. Now, I want to show you the image module, the standalone image module, because this is basically an enhanced version of what you're seeing in the text and image module. We still get the pencil icon here. That lets us link and caption it, and that's always how that pencil icon is going to work. But we also have this plus symbol. This is great because it lets us add multiple images next to each other. We can actually do up to 4 across the width of our mailing. So if we repeatedly click that plus symbol, once we get to 4, it goes away, but we now have 4 blank image modules, and we can just drag images into those. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, there's a pencil icon underneath every single image, so we're able to link or caption all of them if we want. And you'll notice that everything resizes as a single bank of images. Now, we can do any number between 1 and 4, so we can dial it back down to 3. We can do 2. I tend to like images to be really big in my mailing, so I usually go with about 2, just because it still lets them be really high res. Now, we can also stack these, so we can put another image module beneath it, use the plus symbol, and kind of get a nice grid or gallery effect that way. So if we preview these modules, you'll see how that looks. It's kind of a gallery, even though we've used 2 modules as a workaround to do that. Now I want to stop here and show you an insider tip since you've taken the time to watch the video this far. If you hover between 2 modules, you'll see a little blue line appear. Let's do that now. Awesome. Now what that does, if I click that blue line, it's going to insert the exact same module type as the module above the line. So if I click this right now, we're going to get a text and image module, and we can just start populating it with content. That's super great because as your promotion grows and as you add more content to it, it saves you the hassle of having to scroll all the way to the bottom and choose the module type down here. You can just drop the module in where you want it, and you could even quickly change the module type. So pretend I want to put an image in between these two modules. I can click the blue line and then just really quickly change it to an image module. And there we go. So that's a cool trick I always like to demonstrate as part of these walkthroughs. Now there are only two types of module left. The divider is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a thin gray line that you can use to kind of break up some of the thematic elements of your content. So I could drop it right there and split up the initial intro with the promo about discounts. And finally, we have our newest module, and one of my favorites, the button. You can think of the button as a glorified hyperlink. It's just bigger and more noticeable. It actually is going to perform a lot better than a regular text link. And I recommend you only use one button in any given email promotion you create. That's because that will give it more power. If you saturate your content with too many buttons or too many links, it actually has the effect on your audience of making them all seem a little less important than they might be. If you give one link button treatment in a gem promotion, it really sets it apart as the central call to action within your mailing. And it's liable to get more clicks that way. So I recommend, again, being really sparing with this, and I would recommend just one per promotion. You have all the same options above, except there's one new one that's totally unique to the button module. That's the configure button. So let's click that. We're able to change the text displayed on the button and tell the button where it should link. So we're making a promotion based on a grand opening announcement for a new store. So I could say something like, click here for directions. And I could link it to maps or something like that. Save. So our text is changed now, and this is going to click through to whatever map we link to so people can get directions to the new location. Awesome. So that's really the process of populating content, but there's one thing we haven't yet done, which is to really dig into the visual elements of this mailing. That is actually handled by your theme. So you'll see on the right sidebar, right next to the Images tab, there's a Themes tab. Themes control every single visual component of your mailing, from the background color that you're seeing right here to the typeface and the font size. And you can edit any of these themes over here to control all of that. So whenever you get started with Gem, you have a certain number of pre-made themes available to you on the right side. As you click through these themes, you will see them immediately get applied to the content you've already inserted. And you can kind of decide whether or not you're happy with them or tweak them, create your own theme, etc. Right now we have the simple theme selected. We know that because it's highlighted in gray. As I click through these, watch my content change. So here's Argyle, Candy Cane, Classics, and so on. Now it might be that you're totally happy with one of these, which would be great. It would save you a lot of time. I encourage you to explore all of the themes just to see how they look. But you can also edit these. If I hover over a theme and I click the pencil icon off to the right side, I get a nice pop-up, which is our theme editor. So here are all the module types, the heading, subheading. You're basically making master changes to these elements. So if I edit the section title in my theme, what I'm doing is I'm telling the section title module itself how to behave. So anywhere that there's a section title in my mailing from that point forward, it will use what I've specified here. Right now we have a Palatino font. I can change it to Helvetica. There we go. We see it change in real time. I can change the color here, or I can drop in my own hex code for a color I love. I can repeatedly click the big A to increase the font size, or click the small a to decrease it. I can center all my section titles if I want. I actually think that looks pretty good, so I'll leave it. And it really just goes on from there. We can edit all of our headings. So here's the heading we've used already. And now let's say we want it to be, let's do Optima. We can do that, and then we can kick up the size a bunch. And of course, we can discard changes if we do anything we decide doesn't look good. We don't have to save it. We can change our link colors. We can actually customize the button module even further in here. We can change the font on the button. And we can change the overall size of the button. Again, if you're using this as a central call to action, you probably want it to be pretty big and noticeable. So I'm going to kick that up in size. Awesome. We can edit our footer text. We can rename the theme if we want. We can change the border color, the foreground color, which is right behind the text, so right now it's just white, the footer color, which is separate from the footer text, and we can even change the color and style of our buttons. So here we can change the standard drop shadow rectangular treatment to a rounded drop shadow, or just a totally flat rectangle. I tend to like the default just fine. Now, just to show you the power of a custom theme, I have a custom theme all whipped up for Casey's Cuddly Critters. So let's scroll all the way to the bottom and check that out. You can see how awesome that looks. We have the green of our section titles matching the green in the banner. We have our awesome little orange hyperlinks, and that matches our button as well. So that is the full process of building a mailing. The last thing that I want to mention is I recommend using this preview button in the top right as often as you can. That button will follow you as you scroll down. You can see it moved down here so that I have easy access to it anytime. The reason I say that is because that preview is actually the best representation of how this mailing is going to look once it goes out to your recipients. So if I click that button, I get a new tab in my browser, and this is it. This is my mailing as I've created it so far. I can scroll through and see how the formatting looks. I can test links, proofread, and when I'm ready, I can either click back to continue editing it, or I can just call it a day and consider that a well-done mailing. So let's go back to our dashboard. We've created our mailing, we've saved it. We go back to our dashboard, and we're able to see it sitting here now. Here's our preview thumbnail. We can edit it, or we can send it. We're not going to send quite yet because we want to upload all of our contacts before we send this mailing out. That all happens on the subscribers tab. So let's click over there, and I want to talk about all the things that you'll see on your subscribers page before I add anyone. The first thing is the default all subscribers list. Now this is intended to be a one-stop look at exactly how many active unique contacts you have uploaded into the subscribers page in your Gem account. The all subscribers list cannot be deleted. It will always stay there, and again, it will always reflect all of your active email addresses. You can segment your audience out into however many lists you want to, but all subscribers will always aggregate everybody into a single list for you. That basically lets you jump over here anytime and say, okay, cool, I have this many contacts. So to segment this, we can use this plus symbol to add another list. I'll do that right now. Aaron's example list. Great. And before I start uploading anyone, let's go through some of these other automatic lists. Signups is a list that will actually show you anyone who's signed up through a Gem signup form if you've created one. So if you create a signup form and you embed it to your website, the signups tab is going to show you all the people who have signed up specifically through that form or through any forms you've created. They'll be dropped into any lists that you've specified in your web form settings, but they'll also show up down here. It's just a nice way to see how are my sign-up forms performing, how many people are actually coming in through those, rather than just being manually uploaded by me. Subscribers down here shows you how many contacts you have that are active out of the limit on your current plan for Gem. Import history shows you every time that you've uploaded contacts, and you can see the details of all those imports or even undo them chronologically. Now I saved the suppress list for last because it is my favorite part of Gem. The suppress list automatically reorganizes your list for you as you send out Gem mailings. So every time you send out a Gem mailing, Gem is going to grab anyone who bounces, unsubscribes, or marks one of your emails as spam. they're going to get moved from your active audience down to the suppressed list, and from there, they actually won't be counted toward your active limit. They'll also be automatically left off of all your future mailings and your future audience imports. That's super useful because if you accidentally import, say, a spreadsheet that contains contacts who have already been suppressed, Gem is going to detect that and leave them off and keep your sender reputation safe, because you don't want to resend anything to contacts who have in one way or another indicated that they don't want to receive your emails anymore. You can also use the suppressed list to see why people got suppressed. So you can toggle all these different reasons and say, like, who unsubscribed, who did I suppress on my own, who marked a mailing as spam, who bounced. In this case, these are just fake email addresses I used as an example, so they all bounced because they don't exist, but I can easily see that, and it's super convenient. Now, we want to actually add contacts, and what I've done, again, another insider tip, is I want to show you how to properly format a spreadsheet for importing into your Gem subscribers page. So I have that going over here. And there are really only a couple rules you'll have to keep in mind. The first one is to use column headers that are all lowercase and have underscores anywhere a space would normally be. So here we have first underscore name, last underscore name, and email. You can follow those rules to add as many different columns as you want. So we could say company, address, city, state, zip, and we can even make custom columns as long as we follow the same rules. So here I've used an underscore instead of a space. Now we would just populate all this content, so fill it in with all this info. I don't actually need any of these, so I'm going to delete those columns. And when you're ready, go ahead and save the file as a CSV, which stands for comma-separated values. You can see that in my drop-down right here. CSV is just a really compatible file across a very wide number of platforms. It's what you would traditionally get if you exported contacts from a personal email inbox or something like that. Now, because we've formatted our spreadsheet properly and we've saved it as a CSV, all the info that we put into each row for each contact is going to be perfectly brought into Gem when I import that file. That's really why I think this is my favorite way to add subscribers. So let's go ahead and do that. You click the Add Subscribers button in the top right, and you have two methods for doing this available to you. The One by One tab just lets you type in the first and last name and the email address and choose which list you want that person added to. But of course, my favorite way is many at a time because it lets us do this all in bulk. So let's go ahead and click here to browse for our CSV file. Here it is. We can choose which list to add it to. Let's put it on Aaron's example list. And we click Add Subscribers. Here we go. Demo list. Awesome. So that took a matter of just a couple seconds. And now when I refresh the subscribers page, here everybody is, and their names came in perfectly because of the way that I had my CSV file formatted. Awesome. So that's the process for adding contacts. Again, gem@godaddy.com if you have any questions about this. It's all folks like me monitoring that inbox, and we're happy to help anytime. So let's jump back to the dashboard, and let's go through the sending process as our final walkthrough step. Here's our mailing. We click Send, and there are two tabs that we need to pay attention to get this all set up. Recipients and Details. They're exactly what they sound like. Recipients is where you're telling Gem who you want to send this mailing to. Details is where you're setting up all basically the subject line and everything that your recipients are going to see in their inboxes when you send this out. So on the Recipients tab, you can type up to 10 email addresses in this box. It's really designed for cases where you might have forgotten to pre-upload people to the subscribers page. So I could just type in email addresses up here separated by commas if I want to. But the more traditional way to do it is to just find the list you want to send this mailing to and click Include. That's it. The Exclude button you don't really need to use, and I want to explain quickly why it's there. What the Exclude button does is it tells Gem no matter what, like period, no matter what, if I have exclude selected next to a list, leave these people off of this mailing. It's important to remember that, because if you click exclude next to a list, and then you click include next to another list that these people are on, it doesn't matter. They're still going to be left off of it because you've already clicked exclude. So just be careful with that button. It's really meant for, pretend you're sending a proprietary email to maybe just some colleagues, and you want to make absolutely certain nobody from your public-facing lists gets the email. You might just, as a safeguard, click exclude next to your public-facing audience lists, because you want to just guarantee they're not going to receive it no matter what your settings are. Otherwise, you don't need to overthink it. Just click include next to your desired list or lists. If you click include next to a whole bunch of audience lists, Gem will automatically find the duplicates and actually sort them out for you in real time, which is super convenient, making sure that every single email address only gets it one time. So really, it is as simple as clicking include next to all your desired audience lists and moving forward with the sending process. So let's click over to the details tab. We can also click continue. It'll bring us to the same place. This is where we are setting up the details that our recipients will see in their inboxes. So in this case, the from name is great. It's coming from Aaron at Casey's Cuddly Critters. I've entered my from email address here. If they click reply within their inbox, their reply will come to the email address that I've set up here. But it will also look to them as though I've sent this email from this email address. Now we can edit the subject line. So it's auto-populating with the title we gave our mailing as we were building it, but this can be different from that title. So I want to say something like, Casey's is coming to Crittertown. Awesome. This is the subject line then that all my recipients will see when this lands in their inboxes. Second Send, I'm super excited to talk about today. It's available to premium Gem product users, and it's a brand new feature of ours. What Second Send does is, if you use it, if you select this option, you can have Gem automatically send this mailing out again 72 hours from now with a different subject line only to people who haven't yet opened the mailing. That's great, especially for cases like this. If I'm announcing something important, I can resend it 3 days from now to anybody who didn't yet open the mailing with a different subject line. The different subject line you don't have to use, but I recommend doing that, because otherwise emails tend to nest in inboxes if they have the same subject line. So this resend, if I just kept it as Casey's is coming to Crittertown, it might just get nested within my original thread from when I send it out right now, and it's going to be far less noticeable in that person's inbox. So we could say something like, remember, you're invited. And then 3 days from this moment when I send it, Gem is going to look at who hasn't opened this mailing yet and just resend it to them with a new subject line that I've set up in advance. How cool is that? So that's a brand new feature, again, available to premium Gem users. I'm not going to use that right now, but I'm going to talk about these other options. Don't send this to people who already received it is another awesome feature. How this works is when I send this out right now, Gem is going to remember the 6 email addresses I've sent this to. And pretend a week from now I have 20 more people on Aaron's example list. So now I have 26 people on that list. And I would really love to send this mailing out again, but I want to make sure these 6 folks don't get it again. All I have to do is use the exact same sending settings. So I'll point it to Aaron's example list, which now has 26 people on it. But I check this box that says don't send this to people who already received it. Gem is able to look at my sending history for the mailing in real time and leave off these 6 people, only sending it to the 20 brand new signups. Enable link tracking is a feature I recommend keeping selected all the time. What it does is it introduces really subtle redirects to your links, and that is actually what gives you access to all the great stats you're going to want from Gem in terms of who is clicking the links in your promotions, how many times is each person clicking those links, and ultimately which links are performing the best. I personally love seeing that data because it tells me which links did the best, and I can kind of make conclusions as to why they might have. I can look at the positioning of my hyperlinks. I can look at whether or not they were text or button modules. and I can decide from there how I want to lay out future mailings for the most effectiveness as far as my links go. So you can uncheck that option, but again, I pretty much recommend just leaving that selected all the time. And finally, we have social sharing options. When you check these boxes, what Gem is going to do is put little social sharing buttons in the very top left corner of your mailing. Those buttons will let people click to give your mailing some viral attention on various social outlets. So if they click the Facebook option, they'll be able to give your mailing a like on Facebook or tweet about it, etc. I'll go ahead and just check all those off. When I'm happy with how everything is set up, I click Send again, and I get a nice final pop-up window that summarizes all the settings I've put in place. So here's my subject line, as my readers will see it. Here's the from info, again, as my readers will see it. And here are the people it's going to in terms of my list titles. And finally, total recipients. When I'm all good with how this looks, I just click looks good, send it, and it will go out right then. Awesome, so those are all the Gem essentials. We've created a mailing using the standard drag and drop composer. We've uploaded subscribers. We've learned a couple cool tricks behind the scenes along the way. And we've sent our mailing out to all those people. What you'll do from there is just watch your stats populate, and you'll be able to get all sorts of unique insights into how your mailing's performing. So thank you so much for watching this. I do want to reiterate that we have a 24/7 support inbox at Gem, that's GEM, at GoDaddy.com. It's all staffed by folks like me. We love helping out, seriously, we really do. We love seeing what people do with Gem. We're there to help anytime, so if it's 3 a.m. on a Friday night, you can still get help from our inbox team. We're very quick as well. So thank you so much for watching. Let us know if you have any questions anytime, and happy mailing. Thanks.